Hello guys, welcome back to the EUS Challenger Series number 6. We're in our final game of the day because it is game number 3 between Dongsquad and Benched Gaming. And after a fairly lengthy game that was very close for probably, I would have to say, about 35 minutes into that game, Dongsquad actually would end up taking that and showing us that they are still here to fight for their spot in the finals. I am Dignitas. I am joined by Spuddington, and I'll save him from saying this. He is casting from the stream for just the Champion Select, so he will be teeny little bit behind on the picks and bans as they come up. So, Spuddington, so far we've had Jarvan, Jace, Shen, and Zac. So, Jace has been banned, so that's pretty much something that I think we were both expecting heading into this one.
Yeah, it seems like both teams now have played Jace to great effect and come out with a victory on his back. Sorry, I'm just choking myself.
That's probably not the best thing to be doing. If
I don't know how I managed to do that. I am awful about choking myself. But anyway, yeah, Jace obviously has been performing incredibly well, and you've seen him all over the place. He's just done such a good job. The question, though, is what ban are they going to be trading out Jace for?
Well, I think we've all learned something about Spuddington in this cast, but they've let Sejuani through after banning it in game number 2, and Will Gornagle actually take that up. We saw game number 1, he had a fairly interesting game because he actually didn't die on Sejuani, if I'm remembering things right. Yes, he was on the blue side, which would make him the Sejuani player. Just making sure that my mind is all in one piece, because after a fairly long game, sometimes you need a little bit of time to reset. So, looks like they're going for that Sejuani unless he's going to swap that out.
I'd be very surprised if he did, honestly. Gornagle pulled a very, very good Sejuani out in that first game, I believe. And that was, well, it was a pretty strong factor in their winning. Sejuani right now is just a very, very strong tank jungler, basically. She does pretty much everything solidly. She's just a good engage, she's a good disengage, good ganks early on, decent mid-game, you know, in every respect. She's very, very solid right now. She doesn't necessarily have the very best in her class. You know, she's not got quite the same level of teamfight presence as Namumu, but she has a more reliable early game. She doesn't have, you know, quite the same single target ability to focus out someone like Nautilus, but she does have, obviously, more AoE. She's kind of a generalist, very, very strong jungler on the whole. Anyway, and we have actually seen that Volibear lock in as well.
Yeah, Volibear locked in, which is a champion that we see now very sporadically. He was played a lot, all of this kind of the second half of LCS Spring Split, where we had a lot of Nasus and a lot of Volibear as well. Has dropped off a little bit due to a couple of changes to some of his abilities in the patches, but Zuchi's actually going to take Caitlyn, and that is after a pretty impressive last game in Caitlyn. Zuchi just pretty much just ended up cleaning up those team fights right at the end, so we'll see whether Zuchi can replicate that.
Well, you got to say, most of it though was Lego My Ego. I mean, he got a quadra and a triple right in the last 2 fights, I think it was, and that was just scary stuff, and that's kind of why Jace has been banned. But yeah, he has done a very, very good job on that Caitlyn. He's making it very difficult basically in lane, then he transitions pretty well, he farms well, he gets that kind of strong late game AD carry status, he gets that huge damage, and then obviously he is able to just poke from a decent distance, poking around in that fight. One of the things about Caitlyn that people don't necessarily appreciate is that because she has that long auto attack range, she has less need to build defensive items. So even though she has less damage inbuilt into her kit, it's easier for her to just, you know, play the defensive game, stand back, keep, you know, doing the auto attacks, and if she has an extra AD carry item on your opponents, then the lack of damage won't necessarily be so much of a problem.
Yeah, and we're seeing a return to game number 1 in other aspects, because we can see Elise has been picked up. Now, will YoloZilla be given that Elise for the top lane? We saw him go 7-2 at one point in game number 1, so will he be able to do that again? Waiting on the pickup from Bimbo. Zyra has been picked in what I can only assume is going to be a support position. Looks like we're going for a very similar style to game number 1 out of Bench, and they seemed very comfortable with that kind of poke early game style.
Yeah, I've got to say, what I really like about what Benched are doing here is that they are playing #mind games. Right now, the only thing you know about what Benched are running here is that Gornagle is probably jungle on Sidwani. That's it. They know that Bimbo 8 plays an incredibly strong Zyra mid, but they also know that they can play support Zyra. But they also know YoloZilla plays a very strong Elise top. But then again, does Bimbo play mid Elise? I don't know, but maybe he also plays support Elise. They have a very generalist team composition, and it's only now, when they've only got one pick left, that things are really starting to fall into place. They now know that Karthus is mid. They can infer, therefore, that Zyra is going to be the support. They know that Varus is going to be that bottom lane AD carry, and that can really mess with the way you want to set up your team, because now they only really have one pick with which they can reasonably counter. And that's going to be, well, actually, is it going to be Fizz? I don't know. On your end, what is it?
They do lock that Fizz in, and there are a lot of buts in that sentence. And I guess we already established earlier that not only are there a lot of buts in that sentence, but there's a lot of butt clenching action when the Dongsquad are around. And we'll see what Lego My Ego can bring out with that Fizz, as that pretty much rounds out that team setup. And it's a little bit more sporadic than we normally see. I mean, you've got that, you got Glucosa on that Malphite for that unstoppable force, and also just, just to be that tank, that rock. Lego My Ego, though, is going to be playing Fizz. I believe we saw him last week, I want to say, or the week before on Fizz, but I'm reaching back into my mind of when I believe he supported for when he subbed for Heimerdingers, but I'm trying to reach back into somewhere after a couple of games. It can be a little bit difficult to find the right games. It's kind of like one of those fairground claw-grabbing rides. You don't always grab the right piece of information, but we've seen Fizz a lot as a counter to Twisted Fate. How will it work against the Karthus? That we will answer, and hopefully more, when we return with game number 3 between Benched and the Dongsquad here on Kaostv for EUS Challenger Series number 6.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final game of this best of 3. It's coming down to the wire now after 2 hard-fought games. Benched and Dongsquad are going to be going at it for this final game. This is the semi-finals of the EUS Challenger Series number 6, so whoever wins this game will be going into the finals where they will be facing off against Heimerdinger's Colossi. This should be an interesting game, and obviously I am Spuddington, once again joined by Dignitas Stress.
Yeah, and we had a brief pause at the beginning of the game. Luckily, it wasn't all that long, so we can just jump to live and get straight back to the action. But that wasn't very nice of Lego My Ego on my stream. Said that I was boring and is now laying down on the ground. So thanks, Lego. But looks like we got an invade coming in from Benched. I hope you guys caught that on stream, otherwise I sound crazy that Lego's talking to me through his champion. I am crazy indeed.
Crazy.
But you know what else is crazy? Benched going for this blue buff invade. They put down the pink ward, know that they've been rumbled by that ward, and they're going to pull out down towards the bottom lane. But Suchi has to be careful because they were headed his way ever so briefly.
Yeah, if he'd been caught out there, he probably would have died. Although, actually, they didn't have that much kind of hard CC on demand. They mostly had something like the Olozilla, but obviously that invade was predicted. You saw the Explorer ward come out to cover that blue entrance approach, and then obviously there was a ward already waiting at the blue buff itself. So now that they've cleared out that ward, it's going to be much harder to find out where Amazing is coming from, where he's going to. That makes Bear a little bit more scary, and that's just going to mean he's got that flexibility. He's not going to be having that problem he had when he played Lee Sin, where he just kind of didn't really have control over the map. Quite like he was finding few opportunities to get where he wanted to be.
Yeah, Amazing's actually going to start off on the red buff. I think that's, pretty much just going to give him a fairly good start off in this game. Lego My Ego, I wonder how he's going to do up against Karthus here. We've seen Fizz, when people play Fizz, they just tend to end up snowballing the game. I'm not sure whether it's because people aren't quite used to playing against Fizz in a competitive sense, or whether it's just the way Fizz works. But when we see Fizz, it tends to work out very well for the team playing him. So can Lego make that happen again? He has started a red elixir, so when he does decide to pop that, he is going to do a lot of damage in that mid lane, and I'm just trying to wait to see when that powder keg explodes.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Urchin Strike on Fizz is it actually deals your basic attack damage in addition to that base damage and AP ratio. Now he's looking like he could get caught out here. He does only have Seastone Trident taken. He's actually holding on to the point. He smelt a rat there. He had a funny feeling that maybe he didn't want to be getting aggressive with that Q. Gorngle also was predicting Lego My Ego would get aggressive. That's why he was hanging around there. So, mind games. But at the moment, actually, Dirtgen in bottom has landed that route. Suchi is now potentially in trouble, but it's actually going to be turned around. Dirtgen is going to be in trouble now. He's got an angry bear. He's got an exhausted bear, but it doesn't matter. The bear can be tired. He's still going to maul you. And he picks up the first blood there.
Yeah, and Aqua Prison landed, and that's just how powerful Aqua Prison is in that early game if you can hit it, because it just is such a long stun. 1.5 seconds is an obscene amount of time to be caught, and it just leads to the kill there. Lego My Ego does have to be careful because Gornagal is around the side, but Gornagal has recalled out. Decided not to go in for it there. Fizz is a very difficult champion to gank with that playful trickster. Is able to pretty much avoid most CC, and unless you can catch onto him when he lands, you really can't end up putting the damage back on towards him. So that's something that we're going to have to watch how Gornagal decides to counteract. Glucose, once again up in that top lane, has been dropped fairly low, and I believe this is a repeat of the first game where we saw that Malphite going up against Elise, and it's playing out in a very similar manner, and you have to think that Benched are going to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult for them. And actually, Dirtgen there, putting a little down. Damage down on Suchi. Suchi in a lot of trouble now. Hail of Arrows goes down. Double bubble says no. So obviously Tsuchi getting out of there with his life thanks to that that witchcraft from Nami, but obviously that's still going to delay the recall. That's going to cost some creeps. It's going to be a little bit expensive. Now we have amazing recalling from the top lane, and yeah, Glucose is going to have difficulties in this top lane. As long as YoloZilla knows where the enemy jungler is, and he can actually even go under the tower to get aggressive here. He can do the standard neurotoxin spam. He can do that, you know, all day, and he will continue to do that, and you'll see that a lot. He'll do auto attack, neurotoxin, and then if he can, he'll go for venomous bite. If he knows where the enemy jungler is, he can actually do venomous bite under the tower, because it won't matter if the tower tries to aggro on him. He can just repel out instantly, and as long as he doesn't need to use that repel later on to escape, that's fine. He can keep doing the harass, and that's super brutal to deal with. It's just very, very difficult, and a lot of damage comes out over a long period. Glucose is already almost out of health potions, and that's going to cause him a lot of problems in this lane. He is only really just now kind of going to be trying to actually match up against YoloZilla.
Yeah, he's depending a lot on the shield that his passive is going to provide, and then the seismic shard and ground slam to actually farm with. He doesn't want to stand in the minion wave and last hit minions, because he's just going to take too much damage from YoloZilla. So he's being forced off the wave, and that leads itself to a 14 CS disadvantage, and Malphite actually going the Chalice of Harmony route, so making sure that he can farm with his abilities means that he's building himself now towards a far more AP-centric build, rather than that Sunfire cape that we saw in the last game, where he just built flat tank with, you know, only the AP coming from that Seeker's Arm Guard. Meanwhile, down in the bottom lane, Tsuchi has been dropped fairly low. Gornagle did come in from the side there. Hail of Arrows wasn't quite enough with that piercing arrow to pick it up, but Tsuchi stays alive.
Yeah, Dirtgen actually very narrowly whiffed his grasping roots in that bottom lane. If Tsuchi had been hit by that, almost certainly would have died. And we are actually now seeing Amazing stealing away this jungle. Bimbo 8 actually now kind of, he knows that it must have happened very recently, because the wolves weren't there to be taken. But Bimbo 8 can farm up hugely, and he is going to be wanting to do that a lot. 52 right now, the 59 on Fizz actually, so not so great as you might expect, but he can, he will. And now Glucose was in this bottom lane, teleported in. Dirtgen in trouble here. He's going to be taken down very quickly by the Piltover, by the auto attacks, by the Seismic Shard if that's necessary, but it wasn't. Tsuchi picks that up with the auto attack, empowered by Nami, and that's a nice teleport kill there. Glucose will head back. It's not going to give Glucose himself that much of an advantage in his lane though. He might actually set himself a little bit behind in terms of comparison to Elise, even though he is helping his team out tremendously.
Yeah, that is somewhat true, but he did time the teleport fairly well. Elise had gone back, so it works out that Elise isn't able to push down the tower, and YoloZilla actually headed across to the mid lane. I think he might be looking for a gank, but there are wards out around this river area, and Amazing's actually going to face check in towards YoloZilla. Of course, the ward won't quite spot YoloZilla up on that cliff. Repel's coming out, is going to land some damage onto Amazing, but doesn't look like YoloZilla really wants to take that, and there's a big wave pushing in towards the tower of Glucosa, and as we in the last couple of games, we've seen that when people use teleports, their tower gets pushed very hard, but YoloZilla wasn't able to do that. Tidal wave goes down in the bottom lane. Tsuchi tries to land the damage, but turns back straight away. Piltover Peacemaker will land, as will the Aqua Prison, and this is where we've seen Tsuchi and Pose take so much advantage from that CC. Landing Piltover Peacemaker is not quite going to land. Tsuchi gets himself just out of tower range before the last hit, which was dangerously low.
Yeah, that was very, very close there. He was forced to pop barrier. That was the flash from Pose to use to do that, though. I'm not sure if that will prove to be worth it in the long run. Obviously, Pose used his flash and his ignite and his tidal wave. Tsuchi still has his flash and his barrier, and now Nardius has no flash, but he used that before. No barrier and no exhaust on Dirtgen. I feel like the summoner spells in the short term are still going to be in the advantage for Tsuchi, and actually Tsuchi getting caught out by Dirtgen here. Can't trade with the support, eh? Yeah. But obviously he's going to have to run away, and that is a shameful display. He will be getting out of there relatively intact though, and Varus will turn fairly shortly. Actually, Unstoppable Force in top. Amazing is in from the side. Repel is available, but there's nothing to jump to. You are one dead spider, except actually the flash, and then the seismic shard is not going to be enough, I feel. YOLOzilla going to be going down, just delaying the inevitable. The ward went down. It was a pink ward, and that's 125 gold essentially down the drain, but obviously it's not going to be an upset. I mean, it'll still cover. It's just not quite where they'd have wanted it to be in an ideal world. But still, kill makes up for it easily.
Yeah, Dongsquad now will take themselves an advantage in this game, 3-0, pushing heavily on towards that top tower as well. So they have about a 1,500 gold lead right now. I'm expecting that tower to go down to bring that up to around about 2.5. So, yep, that is just over 2,000 gold advantage for Dongsquad. They do have to, they do have Fizz as well in that middle lane. Is pretty much deterring Karthus a fair amount. Karthus is a champion that farms fairly easily, but it is somewhat even in that middle lane, if I'm honest. YOLOzilla looking for Amazing in that jungle. Wall of Pain will go down, won't cross paths with Amazing though. So a little bit of a standstill here in the game. Over the wall has been spotted out by a ward though. I think they are aware, but he's caught between a rock and a hard place, although Malphite isn't actually there. Gorgel trying to get out, but he is now well and truly surrounded by the members of the Dongsquad, and it looks like they want some boar for tea because the bear is going to land the damage, the fish is going to pick it up, and there's a lot of animals in this game.
Yeah, in fact we have the bear, the boar, the fish, and the rock. So we've got maybe 1 or 2 humans per team right now. We are also going to be seeing, you know, the plant, the lich, and the spider. So anyway, this that is going to be picked up. That dragon there, Amazing, taking it away with that smite. Malphite still continuing to have no fun at all in this top lane, but he's doing all right for himself. 52 CS isn't ideal, but he is picking up assists with his roaming. He is still doing okay. YOLOzilla, more CS, but obviously has died. It's probably going to be roughly equal in terms of team gold. Glucose is essentially taking one for the team on that front though, because the gold is not focused on him. And yeah, not a lot of fun playing against Elise. She is very, very annoying for Malphite, but he's going to continue to be in that lane, and eventually he will probably be able to just kind of tank through most of YOLOzilla's harass. Obviously YOLOzilla will be continual and persistent, but he is not going to be able to just completely shove Malphite out. And that's just going to be, you know, very much a stalemate, just a bit in the favor of YOLOzilla. Obviously, the tower not being there for YOLOzilla, though, means it's risky for him to stay in for that long period. Glucose will be okay. And actually, we are seeing Amazing heading towards that top. He's actually just going to go golems. No huge problem there. And obviously, yeah. So, in a lot of the action. Again, obviously, both these teams like to play quite a defensive early game. And it tends to be mid-game, late-game that decides what happens between these two teams. So, Stress, what do you feel is going to be the kind of way that each team is going to want to play their team fights when they happen?
Well, we saw from game number 1 that they had much more of a poke-centric team on bench, and they've moved away from that, even though they had this Sejuani and Elise that they had in game number 1. With a Karthus on the team, it pretty much signals that you want to fight over a very compact area, because of course that Defile is going to land a lot of damage. Also the Stranglethorns is going to do a lot of AoE knockup as well, so it strikes me that bench are kind of going to be looking for those 5v5 fights, but once again we see a Malphite with the teleport, and it kind of signals to me that Glucose wants to split push in some ways, but again, also just allows them to turn team fights on their head. Dongsquad are about 3,000 gold ahead, so this isn't really a repeat of game number 1 where we saw them behind for most of it. In mid lane there is some action going on towards Amazing. It's going to run through the Wall of Pain to land that flip on towards Bimbo, and Lego My Ego does pick up a second kill of the game, so Lichbane and Double Dorans still has hold of that red pot. I didn't see whether he used it earlier. I know he didn't use it before level 4, so I'm wondering whether he's even used it at all this game, but it's a bit more of a passive game out of a Fizz than we're used to.
he is still starting to get very, very scary. Most of that damage in that gank there was done by Fizz. He's going to reach a point very soon, I think, where he can just straight up 100-0 Karthus, and that's not the state you want to be if you're Karthus. Actually, I think Lego My Ego there just lost that blue buff to Amazing. That was rather unfortunate for him, but these things happen sometimes. He is obviously, going to go back, probably going to sell that pot out. We're actually getting Requiem coming down because there's a fight in bottom, which I had not noticed. We've got the Glucose coming in with the Unstoppable Force. Nadia's now in trouble. He's actually going to get counter-engaging here. Pose going low, but he's going over-engaged. The overcommit is not going to be enough to miss from the Gornagle ult. Glucose will go down to the tower, but that was a bit messy, and actually there, 2 for 2 overall. Not quite ideal, though.
No, not quite ideal at all, and Pose still flashing red after that fight. Looks like Gornagle was hunting around to try and find her. Couldn't quite pick her off at the end, of course. Lego My Ego now going aggressive into that lane to clear the wave out, and Bimbo's just trying to stay as close to his tower as he possibly can. Does have a level disadvantage, but that will be made up fairly soon. Playful Trickster over the wall is going to allow him to take down the Wraith, so you can see just how much damage he has clearing that out. Amazing in the top lane, however, trying to trade with YOLOzilla, but YOLOzilla's a little bit too strong on Elise, and double buffs actually get traded across to him, but YOLOzilla has to be very careful because here comes Lego My Ego. What is the decision going to be? It is just going to clear the wave, doesn't go aggressive for the kill. If he had gone for it, he most likely would have picked that up.
Yeah, but obviously you can never rely on your opponents just kind of sitting in the brush there. But we are starting to see now team movements. We're starting to see them going for these towers, grouping up for objectives. Bimbo 8, Gornagle, Nadius, and Dirtjane in this mid lane. They're going to take this tower before it goes before anyone can arrive to stop them. The question is whether they've overcommitted for it. We've got the bubble going down. We've got the disengage there. Dirtjane's going to sacrifice himself for the good of his team there. He didn't want to let him, he didn't want to drag that fish into the rest of his team. Obviously, didn't even blow his ultimate, I think, for that. But actually now Lego My Ego having to jump out. YOLOzilla just hanging around on the side there. Not going to be getting anything done here, but obviously they have no support for a short time, so they're not going to want to go for anything right now. Tsuchi, though, pushing in the spot lane. He could put down some harass on this tower. They know, I think, where Amazing was very recently. They know where YOLOzilla and Bimbo 8 are, so they know Nadius is the only one who can get there in any reasonable time. Tsuchi will now back out, though. He doesn't know if Amazing could have come down here. They are obviously going to just trying to get out. Actually, YOLOzilla, sorry. I may have been mistaking who was on which team there. Pay no heed to my previous words. I am just getting myself confused.
Don't worry, I do that from time to time, and you just kind of have to play it off as cool as possible and hope nobody realizes.
Yeah, nobody noticed. I didn't say any. No,
for sure.
Good.
So yeah, nobody noticed at all, but I think you're fine on that one. Glucosa and Amazing are going to try and push through on this mid lane. Get caught in a cocoon, actually. Wall of Pain is going to just drop, which is actually fortunate that it went in front of them because Lego My Ego was on his way across as well. So any way they could deter the team for the Dongsquad of coming through on that is a good thing. Lego My Ego takes a cocoon and an explosive spiderling. Now, Dongsquad find themselves in front of the Dragon Pit. They have a pink ward. Does it have the vision of that green ward in the back? Yes, it does. So they will take that out. Remove the vision for Bench. Bench look like they want to pressure this, which I can kind of agree with because of that Karthus. Means that if they do take this fight, it is going to be over a fairly enclosed area. So Defiler's going to do a lot. YOLOzilla gets caught by the Chum of the Waters. Does that actually land when he's in Repel? Looks like the damage did drop. Unstoppable Force in through the middle of the team fight. The Spud got excited about that one too. Double kill onto Lego My Ego. Can he get any more from this? Bimbo stayed alive through a lot of that. Will get the shutdown. Here comes the Requiem. Will it be enough? Won't actually pick up anyone else. Glucosa will pick off Bimbo, of course, earlier on in that fight. And Amazing picks up the ace onto Gornagle. So a great team fight off the back of that Unstoppable Force from Glucosa will leave the guys from the Dongsquad fairly low, but they have the dragon and they got the ace in exchange for 1 kill.
Wow, that Unstoppable Force was meatier than meters. That was just unbelievably strong. It was just the perfect counter engage for them there. They are taking so many advantages from that. That has put them so far ahead. They are now pushing down this mid tower. that could obviously put them ahead. Obviously, more global gold, more map pressure. They've taken the dragon, they've taken bot tower, they've taken top tower. They are holding on to a tower advantage. The top tower might take a bit of a beating here, but Amazing should be there in time to save it. So, obviously now is definitely the time for them to shine. Dongsquad are a long way ahead in this game, and unless Bench do something drastic, they're going to have a lot of trouble winning the fight. Obviously, though, that last fight could have gone either way. It's just that now that it has gone against them, it's going to put them a long way behind. YOLOZilla now going to be heading to top lane, but Amazing and Malphite are aware they've encircled him. The stun goes down, but it's a counter fight here. We're going to be seeing Amazing going in. Bear, angry, Bear on. Spider gets squashed. Now, actually in bot though, there is a fight going on as well. Pose gets taken out by Nadius. The fight goes on at top. YOLOZilla gets destroyed, but that's just going to be a good fight overall. Actually, not really for either team. It's just going to be support for YOLOZilla.
Yeah, and Dongsquad really for the first time in this series actually have pretty much full control of this game. They're now chasing on towards Bimbo. Wall of Pain has been used, but Amazing's actually just going to flip him the other side, saying, I don't care whether I'm going to walk through that, I'll bring you to me. There's the unstoppable force used. Lego My Ego actually is going to pick up Nadius, I believe, in the bot lane. He's still down there fighting on towards Dirtgen. Ace will land as well. Zuchi picks one up, kills all around the map for the last couple of minutes. Zuchi is actually flashing red down below 50 health himself at the tail end of that fight, so pretty much lucky to land that kill. And the retreat pings by the Dongsquad in the top lane, but it is 17 kills to 5, and this is a lot more like the Dongsquad that we were expecting here in this game.
Yeah, they are now coming out really swinging. This advantage is snowballing hard, and they are a long way ahead. Bench need to do something about this. At the moment, in a straight up 5-on-5, there is just no way they can do anything. Lego My Ego is deleting any single person that he chooses and then continuing to be annoying throughout the fight. Does a huge chunk of damage with the WQ combo. E makes him slippery with the ult on top of it, and especially if he has Ignite, he 100-0s someone. He's still holding onto that red pot. 6-1 now. He's incredibly strong, and we are going to be seeing YOLOZilla potentially overextending again. This is what they cannot do. They need to take pushing advantage. They need to stall out the game. But the problem they're having at the moment is that when they do that, they risk getting caught. And there is a great amount of picking potential against them. Fizz, very good at picking. He can 100-0 someone. You've got Malphite, unstoppable force out of nowhere. Bear chases you down over a long distance very easily. Nami obviously puts the slow on the auto attack for someone else, and that is very dangerous. Now, Fizz actually in the enemy jungle, not going to be taken out. They are going to be okay for now. There is a ward they are passing by. Malphite, Glucose, continuing to push in this top lane. He doesn't want to have to fight anyone. They want to just fight this. Actually, Lego My Ego has been caught. He's going to put down a lot of damage in return. Gornagle over the wall, though. The fish actually lands on Gornagle. They're going to go for the burst on Gornagle, and they do get it. Lego My Ego goes down, though. Venomous Bite takes him out. YOLOZilla gets taken out by Tucci on the side. Nadius in trouble. Dirtgen in trouble. Then Bimbo is going to go down, but he's going to have the Requiem. It's not going to be enough to anyone to go down as a result, though. And that's the GG well played call coming out. And that is actually the surrender vote. Very nicely played by Dongsquad. They absolutely wrecked this last game in a way that neither of the previous games went at all.
And two massive unstoppable forces out of Glucosa in that game. The first one at Dragon, and then the second one the second one at the very end that didn't even turn the team fight. It was already going in favor of the Dongsquad. So Glucosa actually just landing them an insane set of unstoppable forces. And it's actually good to see Glucosa turn that one around after he had so much trouble with YOLOZilla in the first game. And really, that series had pretty much a storyline throughout the whole thing where you see Glucosa coming back against that Elise to finally turn it around, and Dongsquad looked really good in that game and pretty much managed to flip the tables completely on Benched, but both teams looking very strong here in this series.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised to see Benched go further on. From the results of the first and the second game, you wouldn't have known that this third game would be, frankly, quite a stomp. It was just a good team that snowballed hard, though, against them. So, obviously, we have got a finalist now, and it's going to be them going up against Heimerdinger's Colossi. That will not be tomorrow, by the way. Thursday will be the finals of EU West Challenge Series number 6. Pay attention, people in chat. I know you're busy arguing about who are the worst team. This is all the games done for today, but Thursday will be the finals. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, will be the DreamHack qualifiers that will be being casted by Kaostv. So there will be no Challenger Series content on that day, but I think we will be casting on this channel, will we? Actually, maybe not. Bass, do you know which channel we're casting on for tomorrow?
Are you speaking to the stream, Bass, or can people hear you?
I was, and then I muted, unmuted, and apparently I was muted. So yes, we are streaming on /Kaostv, so this channel.
Okay, so tomorrow we will be having the DreamHack qualifiers streamed in this exact same place. Just come straight back to this channel. You can in fact follow this channel. There is a button in the bottom left corner of the screen, which would be very nice of you to do. And yes, Bass